Radio, Wham 1180, welcomes you to the Seniors Rock Show, presented by Benefit Representatives of America, your local Social Security and Medicare experts. The Seniors Rock Show, fun, entertaining, and important info for all adults. Join in with your comments or questions. Call 222-1180 or 1-800-295-1180. Now, live from the News Radio Wham 1180 studios in downtown Rochester, here's your host, Joanna Palvino.
Welcome to the show. I'm Joanna, here with co-host, estate planning attorney Mike Robinson of the Law Office of Michael Robinson. Happy 4th of July weekend, Mike.
Yeah, Joanna, happy Saturday and happy 4th of July weekend.
Hey, it's going to be a good one today, and I know everybody's got things to do, but today we're going to talk about some important things in the next hour, so I hope you'll stay with us. And we've got a lot to talk about, and we're going to start with Peter Gordon of Indoor Air Professionals. He's here to answer some questions that we have about summer air quality. We understand there are significant changes, and I can feel it in my nose, with indoor air quality in the summertime. We are interested, Peter, in what we can do to be sure we're breathing clean indoor air, and you're the expert. So tell us, what can we do as far as air quality in the summer? Or we'll start with questions, I guess. Good to see you, Peter.
Yep. Oh, thanks so much, Joanna. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Peter, let's start with humidity, right? I mean, we've had some record-breaking heat and a lot of humidity along with it. How does that affect our indoor air?
all right. Well, yeah. So humidity makes for denser air. It floats more particles. We know from the last couple of years of talking about the science of indoor air quality that particles are the transport vehicles for virus, bacteria, and mold.
Right.
Okay?
All right.
So that's number one. And number two is people, you love the feel of the air conditioning when you go inside. And, but some people think, well, I get sick in air conditioning, and they think it's going from 85 and humid into 75 and, less humid.
Mm-hmm.
And what they don't realize, in order to create that wonderful feeling of air conditioning, there's moisture from the cooling coils of your air conditioning that blow downstream into the 50 million dead skin cells per person per day that builds up in there, all the construction debris and everything like that. So it's a double whammy because in trying to remove the humidity as well as, just if you don't have clean ductwork and you're running air conditioning, you're making mold in your ductwork.
Yikes, that does not sound good. And I know, Peter, for I think 32 plus years, you guys at Indoor Air Professionals have taken a holistic approach to indoor air quality. So tell us about those testing mechanisms and solutions that Indoor Air provides, like that laser particle counter.
Sure. Yeah, so the laser particle counter we use, it measures 1 cubic feet of air. It's like a $3,000 instrument. It measures ultrafine particles. And this is how we know that the air purification product line we sell through Healthway is 40 times more efficient than a HEPA-filtered air purifier. And HEPA filters run the gamut. But the laser particle counter, as you guys have seen, takes a cubic feet of air, and we usually see anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million ultrafine particles in that measurement space. And when I put it over the Healthway, it goes down to 0 in 10 seconds.
Wow.
When I put it over the best HEPA filters, even with ultraviolet light, it goes down to like 200,000. So we like to use real science in order to, show people why they can stop taking medication if they apply one of these medical grade air purifiers.
Yeah, and we've seen that in action, as you said. It's pretty dramatic. Peter, with respect to the duct cleaning service that you do, I know that it's very different. What are the main distinctions of your service?
Yeah, well, once again, your duct system is out of sight, out of mind. It's like the last people think about until somebody gets sick or they have allergies, and then they've spent a lot of money removing carpeting, putting in hardwood floor, tens of thousands of dollars, and simply for somewhere between $700 and $1,000 for the average home, you can clean out your duct system that you forgot about, and we can clean 95 to 99% out because our air knife is driven by a large diesel compressor that would be the same one you'd see like on the 490 driving two jackhammers.
Mm-hmm.
And The regular off-the-shelf best technology uses brushes and low-volume tools, which don't get up the sides or tops of the ductwork and don't get into the corners and go through volume dampers. So they're only effectively cleaning 40 to 50% of the stuff out.
It's amazing. And I've seen the videos on your website, and I do know, I think it causes confusion that some of these other folks that are out there, you're not getting the true story, folks. You have to go to the best. That's Indoor Air Professionals. They truly are, the top of the line gold standard. Now, we're talking about the cost, and while we're talking about that, Peter, let's see tell me, is there a return on investment? Give me an example of a return on investment. Yeah, with duct cleaning or the medical grade air purifier.
Yeah. Well, we had one of our listeners call that used our service, Valerie, a couple of weeks ago, and she said that she stopped taking her, I think it's Buterol. It's like an inhaler for asthma. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then she also doesn't now have to go. This is just through a duct cleaning, okay, and sanitizing, and she doesn't have the co-pays for her doctor's appointment. So effectively, her duct cleaning was paid for in less than 1 year's period, and a 95 to 99% duct cleaning is going to last the average person 3 to 4 years if they're hypersensitive, and 5 years or 6 years if they're just, normal maintenance trying to reduce floating particles.
Mm-hmm. Well, it makes sense because, I'm a true believer. I know Pam is too. We've both had our ducts cleaned by Indoor Air Professionals, and we can tell the difference in the breathing, and especially this time of the year with this humidity. And, I feel like I have to go back in the house and close the windows because it's cleaner in there, and the air is easier to breathe. And I do not have one of those great medical grade air purifiers. We're going to have to look at that. But, just having the ducts cleaned has helped me tremendously with sleeping, and in the morning my nose isn't running like it used to, and I wanted to thank you for that. I truly believe you guys are the best, and I think the Navy uses you, right? That's a pretty good testimonial.
Yeah, we actually have 9 full-time team members that are in Coronado Island, which is San Diego. It's the second largest naval base, and we clean aircraft carriers there all the time. We also have a crew in Bremerton, Washington now, and they go to Japan often to clean the carriers over there. So, cool. Yeah, that's how unique the technology is. It's the only technology specified by engineers for use in hospitals.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you something else. I'm going to put you on the spot here. I know you've offered discounts in the past. Can we still get those? And can you tell us what they are, Peter? Because we only have a few minutes left here.
Absolutely. Yep. So, first of all, for duct cleaning, if you're a first-time customer, you can save $175 off. Okay.
Yep.
Number 2 is the medical grade air purifier by Healthway, 40 times more efficient than a HEPA filter. The portable that covers 1,200 square feet is $400 off. There's one that hooks onto your furnace. That's also $400 off. And just to make life easy for everybody.
Awesome.
We have a high-capacity dehumidifier that's 5 times more effective and efficient than a standard dehumidifier. It really works. It saves energy.
How much
and
off?
That's $400 off.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to cut you off, but we do have to go to break. Peter, thank you for joining us today. And stay by the phone, folks, or Peter, because I'm going to tell folks to call you. Get those discounts. Get those things done as soon as you can, because I'm telling you, won't regret it. 585-427 8020 extension 303 for Peter Gordon. He will call you if he doesn't answer right away. 585-427-8020 extension 303. Next, we're going to welcome Dr. Laura Petrescu of Athena Direct Primary Care and Lifestyle Medicine to talk about food sensitivities and gut microbiome. After the break on Seniors Rock Radio.
And welcome back to Seniors Rock Radio. Our next guest expert will talk about an important topic, very timely with this holiday weekend and the holiday foods that we're going to be tempted with. Food sensitivities and gut microbiome seem to be words we're hearing more of lately. So we thought some advice from Dr. Laura Petrescu, founder of Athena Direct Primary Care and Lifestyle Medicine, would be helpful. Doctor, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Mike, Joanna. I'm glad to be back on the show with you, and happy 4th of July to all our listeners. I hope everybody's having a good time with their family and friends and celebrating around foods. It's timely to talk about food sensitivities. So a lot of our listeners may be aware of the classic food allergies like hives or anaphylaxis, which are triggered by immunoglobulin E, which can cause lip swelling, tongue swelling, anaphylactic shock, very severe symptoms. But a lot of people may not be aware of milder symptoms, not an allergy, but a sensitivity, which is caused by immunoglobulins G1 through 4, as well as immunoglobulins A, and can cause symptoms as diarrhea, constipation, nausea, indigestion, bloating. We see that very, very common with food sensitivities. And sometimes other symptoms caused by systemic inflammation triggered by the immune system as brain fog, fatigue, or even certain food cravings and sugar cravings. So one may wonder, how can we tell if we have a food sensitivity? The traditional way to tell is a food diary. You write down everything that you eat in 24, 48, 72 hours sometimes. Remember, some food sensitivities can be delayed sensitivity reaction, and you may develop symptoms up to 72 hours later after exposure to a certain food. So food diary can be very, very helpful to try to tease out food triggers and then take it to the next level and do a food elimination diet when you eliminate those foods and see if that improves symptoms. So a lot of people come to my practice with certain diets, gluten-free diet, FODMAP diet, but I prefer to test, don't guess. The better way, the precision medicine these days is that by testing a comprehensive food sensitivity test that we offer in the office, test for 176 different kinds of foods and their inflammatory response, and we can make very specific recommendations as to what foods cause the symptoms.
Oh, there it is. I wanted to ask a question, doctor. Are there foods that typically cause sensitivity, or just depend on the person?
It really depends, right? So the classic foods that we may think they're the culprit, the gluten or dairy, in fact, may not be the ones that are causing the symptoms. That's why I think instead of guessing that, it's better to actually test and see and monitor symptoms and eliminate foods based on test results, blood test results, rather than guessing.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. And everybody, as soon as something happens, they're like, oh, it must be gluten, or they go to those words we hear all the time. So this is great. Go ahead.
Right. Or the FODMAP diet, which is classically recommended by gastroenterologists for people with inflammatory bowel disease. And a lot of people come to me on these diets when, in fact, when we test, is none of the foods on the FODMAP diet that are causing their sensitivity. In fact, there are things that are completely unrelated to that, and people may not be aware. And sometimes other food additives, preservatives, additives, is not the food itself, is something else that's added to the food that triggers inflammation. So this comprehensive food sensitivity test we do can see that, and also identify if there is a disruption in the gut barrier, what we call the leaky gut, that may be the root cause of food sensitivities. So our listener may wonder, why do people develop these food sensitivities? What's the root cause of that? And more often than not, the answer is dysbiosis.
Oh, what?
Dysbiosis, right? It sounds like a
dysbiosis,
right? Dysbiosis. What does that mean? A disrupted microbiome. Right? Food goes in the gut. So let's keep in mind we have 27 feet of gut, and that's lined up with a thick layer of mucus. That's where the gut microbiome lives. And this gut microbiome interacts with the foods that we eat. So normal foods that we eat day to day may be able to actually trigger a sensitivity or inflammatory response if there is an imbalance, a dysbiosis in the gut microbiome, and that is the root cause of that. So if we were trying to address the root cause of it, we have to talk about the gut microbiome and how that impacts our health.
So a diary makes sense because everybody eats different things every day, so I don't know how they'd know without testing with you, somebody like you, or doing the diary. It makes sense to me.
Sometimes some people can identify, so I would encourage people to start with a food diary to even see if there is something related to their meals. And it may be just one food item that they can clearly link to their symptoms. You know, whenever I have broccoli, I have these reactions, or whenever I have strawberries, I have bloating or brain fog or headache or nausea, right? So it may not be hives or anaphylaxis, but they have other symptoms, and it could be one food item, and that's great. You know, I strongly encourage people start with that, right? But sometimes if symptoms are confusing or there are multiple food items involved, for example, I had a patient that came and thought chickpeas are causing her symptoms, right? So she'll try to avoid chickpeas, but then she noticed that she can eat chickpeas in a salad, but not chickpeas in hummus. Like, why would
That's
that
weird.
be? It's the same food group, right? When in fact, when we did the food sensitivity test for her, it turned out it was the canola oil in the hummus. It was really not the chickpeas, but she thought all along, and she tried very hard to avoid a food group, but that is otherwise very, very healthy, because, you know, it was not that to begin with.
Interesting. Well, we're going to continue this conversation. We'll be right back with more of Seniors Rock Radio and more of Dr. Laura Petrescu from Athena, Direct Primary Care and Lifestyle Medicine. Don't go away. We are right back with Dr. Laura in a minute.
Welcome back to Seniors Rock Radio. We're here with Dr. Laura Petrescu. And Doctor, we've been talking about gut microbiome. Maybe we should start with what is the gut microbiome and then talk about how do we take care of it?
Very good question, Mike. Microbiome is this community of live microorganisms that live in our gut. Live microorganism that consists of bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi, yeast. We, in fact, have 38 trillion different types of microorganisms that live in our gut. And let's keep in mind, humans, we have 27 feet of bowel loops. So it's a huge community. And this bowel, the lining of the bowel, has a very thick layer of mucus. We call that the glycocalyx. And that's where this bacteria lives. And the gut also hosts up to 80% of our immune system that is responsible to keep us healthy and heal. So there is a direct interaction between these live microbes in the gut and our immune system. And the goal is to keep this mucus layer nice and thick and intact, so food particles from common foods do not trigger the immune system, creating inflammation where it should actually just help us nourish our body, right? So what happens if we deal with a case of dysbiosis, when there is an imbalance between the good gut bacteria and the bad gut bacteria, the pathogenic bacteria, then the mucus layer gets disrupted, and now we have food particles, proteins, peptides, other amino acids from common foods that interact directly with the immune cells in the gut and trigger cytokines, inflammatory cascade with interleukin 1, 6, 10, TNF-alpha. This get absorbed into the bloodstream and cause systemic symptoms. As we discussed earlier, symptoms as nausea, diarrhea, bloating, but also brain fog, fatigue, joint pain that comes with inflammation. And when we think about joint pain, we don't necessarily think about the gut, but that may be where the root cause of that symptom may be, right? Chronic systemic inflammation. So what causes this disruption of the gut microbiome? A number of things that can interfere that. The number one is medications, different types of medicines that we may have been exposed in our lifetime. The number one is antibiotics that we use to kill bad bacteria, but most antibiotics that we use are non-selective. They kill all bacteria, including the good bacteria in the gut. So for anyone that has had any antibiotics in their lifetime or multiple courses of antibiotics, there is a good chance they may have a disrupted microbiome. Also, other types of medications like PPIs, things like omeprazole, pantoprazole, that people use commonly for GERD symptoms, antacids. Lowering that acid in the stomach also disrupts the gut microbiome. Another important class of medications is NSAIDs, the painkillers like ibuprofen, meloxicam, naproxen, that disrupts the mucus layer in the stomach and the gut, and also makes it easier for the inflammation to occur. Other diet and lifestyle changes can disrupt the microbiome. Excessive alcohol and fried foods, processed foods, excessive processed sugars can promote the bad bacteria and also yeast overgrowth in the gut, and that disrupts the balance in the gut, right? So a number of things that can disrupt the microbiome. The issue is symptoms can be very subtle, that you don't have severe symptoms right after you take these medications or use. Symptoms can develop over time as the fine balance in the gut gets disrupted.
Well, very interesting, and there's so many variables here, and you know, you say the joint pain and the fog in the head and all these things, and as we age, sometimes these things are happening, you know, with arthritis and other things, so it sounds a little confusing to me to be able to figure it out. That's why we need someone like you. And if you just tuned in, folks, that was Dr. Laura Petrescu. She's with Athena Direct Primary Care. Doctor, I have a question.
Yes.
Prevention and elimination of these problems in your gut. Are prebiotics and probiotics something important to know about?
Absolutely, 100%. So how do we fix the gut microbiome, right? So we try to rejuvenate the good beneficial bacteria in the gut. So that's where the prebiotics and probiotics come in. The probiotics, the good beneficial bacteria. And we have to feed that beneficial bacteria, and they like to eat prebiotics and fiber. So what is fiber? Is plant cellulose. Only plants have fiber. Let's keep in mind animal products come with zero fiber, right? So how do we rebalance the gut microbiome? Let's eat plants, a plant predominant diet, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds. Probiotics also come in fermented foods, so I encourage our listeners to eat every day 1 to 2 servings of fermented foods. Sugar-free yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha, fermented foods that have good beneficial bacteria to help us colonize the gut with this beneficial bacteria to rebalance the microbiome.
You mentioned kombucha, and I know that a lot of folks are drinking these different drinks, and they say on the front, probiotic or prebiotic. Is it okay to have, is that just as effective, having the liquids like that? And when do you take these things?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. With a disclaimer with the kombucha, some brands of kombucha, please read labels, always, nutrition facts and labels, to make sure that doesn't have a whole lot of added sugar and artificial flavorings and other things. But these are fermented foods. Kombucha is made of fermented black or green tea, so it has these probiotics, right? And sometimes they have added prebiotics like soluble fiber and other things in there that work in symbiosis, that work together to feed the microbes. So when do you take it? Whenever it's convenient, morning, lunch, and dinner. The more, the better.
But pre or pro? I mean, is it the same thing?
It is not the same thing. Probiotics means the bacteria. The probiotic is actually the bacteria itself. The prebiotic is the fiber, is the food for the probiotic.
Good.
Right? So it's the fiber. So sometimes that's why some products have both pre and probiotic, because you put the probiotic, the bacteria, along with its food. So, it works better that way.
Very good. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us today. There's a lot to be taught about gut and all of these things. And is there anything you want to say real quick before we go?
Well, thank you for having me on the show on such an important day. I'm really happy to be here and hope our listeners had a few tips to take home.
I think they do. Thank you again. We'll have you back. And folks, stay right there. We'll be back, Mike and I, with some more information for you and some fun on Seniors Rock Radio.
And welcome back to the Seniors Rock Radio Show. And, Joanna, as we're wrapping things up, I wanted to share some important information regarding estate planning. And what triggered this, it's not something unusual, but something happened recently that certainly brought it top of mind. I recently was retained to administer the estate of a fellow who passed away. And he had, in his previous will, had named an individual to be a significant beneficiary, and they had a falling out. So he had his will redone to eliminate this individual from being a beneficiary of the estate. After this fellow passed away, and we began looking at the assets and starting to collect them, what we discovered was that although he changed his will, he still had this now unwanted individual named as a beneficiary on bank accounts and retirement accounts, which constitute the bulk of the financial estate. So the lesson here is when we talk about estate planning, it's not only creating a will and a trust and whatever other documents. You need to be cognizant of your beneficiary designations. And too often when an estate plan is done, inquiries are not made about beneficiary designations. The beneficiary designations conflict with oftentimes, and in an example such as this, completely frustrate the individual's intent in creating the estate plan. So the lesson is when you're doing your estate plan, pay attention to the beneficiary designations. Make sure they're still correct. If they need to be revised to reflect the new wishes in the trust or the estate under the will, make sure that gets done, because otherwise, no matter what you say in the will or trust, if there's a beneficiary designation on an account, it's the beneficiary designation that is going to control. And the other thing I would say is, it's almost never a good idea to name your estate as the beneficiary, because if you do, you are now forcing a probate proceeding. And usually that's something we want to avoid.
So I have a question. Do you have advice for folks when they're trying to determine who the beneficiary to their plan should be? Is there any, do you say keep them local? Are they a relative? I mean, anything at all that you give them?
It can be anyone that you want it to be, but you just need to make sure that who you want it to be is, in fact, the designated beneficiary. Oftentimes when we do estate planning, as you know, we typically feature trusts. And oftentimes it's best to name the trust as the beneficiary. And then in the trust, you specify who are the actual individuals who are going to receive that money. And the benefit of doing that is that you can control what happens in case the individual that you want to receive the money, what if they're incapacitated? What if they predecease you? What if they're having some creditor issues? And you want to make sure that whatever they're inheriting is protected. Naming the trust as the beneficiary not only avoids probate, but allows you to put in place some important protections for that beneficiary.
Oh, wow. Okay, so folks, this is why you need to talk to an attorney, a good estate planning attorney like Mike Robinson, law office of Michael Robinson. And, these are things that are very important because you may not be thinking about it now, but at some point we're all going to go. And we need to have these things in place. Mike, thank you for bringing this valuable information to me and to the listeners. And anything else you wanted to talk about today?
Otherwise, it is the holiday weekend, and I know we're all out having fun with friends and family. Certainly important to have fun, but also be safe. Be smart. Too often, on this particular weekend, we read about or hear about fireworks accidents, auto accidents because people have overindulged. So, have fun, but be smart, be safe, be well, and be kind.
Thank you, Mike. It's great. And, if you're looking for something to do, folks, I've got an idea. If you've been waiting, especially for a reason, to get a spa, that spa you've been dreaming about, this is it. Crosper Brothers Pool and Spa is having their annual Soak and Save event, July 25th through July 27th, for 3 days only. And it's only 3 days, and you can get the best deal on a new spa or pool from Crosper Brothers. Enjoy the health benefits of a spa and save, right? So there's 60 months, 0% financing. Don't miss the annual Soak and Save event, July 25th through the 27th, and it's at the Canandaigua Civic Center. Visit CrosperPools.com for more information and to see those beautiful spas. And don't forget, Mike and I will be there Saturday, July 26th at the Canandaigua Civic Center for the Soak and Save event. It's a lot of words to say.
It is.
And that's Saturday, July 26th. We'll be there live from 11 till noon. Stop by, say hello, and get a spa to go. I think that's cute. I made that up at the end
I
there.
like that.
And, you're talking about safety and the 4th of July. I would like to remind people that we're a lot of animal lovers. There's millions, there are millions of people with pets, I'm sure. So remember that fireworks, picnics, and all these 4th of July traditions can be really great fun for us, but can be very frightening and even dangerous for animals and your pets. So remember, if you're going to the fireworks, leave your pets at home, leave them at home in a quiet room, let them rest, keep them inside, and especially if your neighbors are sending them off and they're close. So don't forget about that. I have to mention the animals. And I also wanted to bring up, I know a lot of folks are talking about traveling now in the summer. And when Mark Gruba was on from AAA a couple weeks ago, he said something I wasn't aware of, and there's something called the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, or STEP. It is a free service, and it allows U.S. citizens and nationals to enroll their trip abroad so that they can be accurately and quickly be contacted in case of an emergency. Now, besides that, you can get real-time updates on this STEP program about health, weather, safety, and security in the other countries. So plan ahead using information from the local U.S. Embassy. You'll get that on there, and you can also help the embassy or consulate where you're going contact you if there's an emergency like a natural disaster, civil unrest, or a family emergency. These things happen, and, they can happen to you. Don't think it's always someone else. So I think that's a great idea to go in and maybe sign up for the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. Were you aware of that, Mike?
I was not until Mark spoke about it on the show.
Yeah, that's why I figured I'd bring it up again. And everyone keeps talking about traveling. And if you are, that's a great thing to do. I know we did a little traveling already this summer, and it was very enjoyable. But, again, being safe is the main thing when you're on the roads, and with those big trucks especially. John's probably laughing. I get a little nervous about that. But I'm going to go now, and I hope that you have a great holiday weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We will be back next Saturday live at 11. Until then, have a safe and wonderful 4th of July weekend, celebrating the freedoms that we have and enjoying your family and friends. Come back next week so we can remind each other that we're all in this age game together, and that's something to celebrate. So is the fact that, you know what I'm going to say now. Have a great weekend, and don't forget, Seniors Rock.